All right, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Fox 61 News Facebook page. We are coming live to you here outside of Stamford Superior Court, where we just got done with a court appearance by Kent Mawhinney, an alleged accomplice in the murder investigation of Jennifer Dulos. He is one of three suspects who was arrested, one of two who still remains alive. And it was a very brief court appearance, only for about 30 seconds. Kent Mawhinney entered in a tan jumpsuit and a gray t-shirt, and he was flanked by two of his attorneys, his main attorney being Lee Gold, and he entered a not guilty plea on his conspiracy to commit murder charge, and a new court date was set for March 31st. March 31st is when we can expect Kent Mawhinney to be in court next. Now that Fotis Dulos is no longer living, the prosecution is really focusing in on Michelle Troconis and Kent Mawhinney, the two other suspects in this case. And what we did not see today was Kent Mawhinney walking in the courtroom. That's because he is still behind bars. He has not made his $2 million bond. Michelle Troconis she's on house arrest, so when she comes here to the courthouse with her attorney, she's able to walk in through the front door. Kent Mawhinney is still jailed, so he is not able to do that. He came into the courtroom and met his attorneys in handcuffs. But Kent Mawhinney has been linked to the murder investigation of Jennifer Dulos. We know about the shallow grave that was allegedly found at the Windsor Rod and Gun Club in East Granby, Connecticut. According to Kent Mawhinney's arrest warrant, his cell phone pinged off of one of the towers in that area. And we also know that he was listed in the alibi scripts, as they have come to be called, of Michelle Troconis and Fotis Dulos. Police believe that he helped them to basically come up with a reason for why they were where they were and where they were, hence the whole alibi situation. But so Kent Mawhinney is not charged with murder. He is charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and his connections to Fotis Dulos go back a long time. Kent Mawhinney was the attorney of Fotis Dulos in the matter of the lawsuit by Gloria Farber, Jennifer Dulos' mother, and all the money that she says that Fotis Dulos owes her. Kent Mawhinney represented Fotis Dulos in that case. So they are friends. They had the lawyer-client relationship. And Kent Mawhinney certainly has his own personal struggles unrelated to the Dulos case. Just last week, he appeared in Hartford Superior Court, where cameras were not allowed in because of the nature of the charges that he is facing with regard to spousal abuse. But that is related to Kent Mawhinney's personal divorce case, which is still being worked out right now. And last week, I was there in court for that, where the state offered Kent Mawhinney a plea deal, the details of which were still not made public. But Lee Gold, his attorney, did tell me that they now need to decide whether or not they're going to accept the plea deal related to that. So that is a whole separate issue. Kent Mawhinney's estranged wife claimed in police documents that she believed that Kent and Fotis were working together to get rid of her. She is alleging abuse at the hands of Kent Mawhinney. So all of that is going on separately from the murder investigation case into Jennifer Dulos, in which Kent Mawhinney is charged with conspiracy to commit murder, along with Michelle Troconis. Fotis Dulos not being in the picture anymore after he committed suicide. Now the prosecution focusing on Michelle Troconis and Kent Mawhinney. Also worth noting that we did see Chief State's Attorney Richard Colangelo in court today as still what appears to be the lead prosecutor on the case. Fox 61 sat down with him several weeks ago when he did tell me that he would be transitioning off of that case to someone else in the Fairfield County State's Attorney's Office who was very familiar with that case. There were a couple of lawyers who were next to him who may be apprenticing and trying to, get up to speed on this case. We just don't know, but he did tell me that he was planning at some point not to be doing double duty and to be getting off of the Dulos case so he can focus on being the chief state's attorney as he was recently promoted. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But this was the first time that we have seen Kent Mawhinney since he was arraigned on his conspiracy to commit murder charge in early January. So we haven't seen a lot of him. He's been in jail. He was in Bridgeport for a while. Then he was moved to Cheshire Correctional. And he's actually jailed in the same cell as Jose Morales, who is charged with the murder of his wife, and his wife is the mother of Vanessa Morales, who is missing and still the subject of that Amber Alert that we're maintaining here in Connecticut. So another day of developments here in the Dulos case outside of Stamford Superior Court, where we did see Kent Mawhinney walk in with that tan jumpsuit. He was shackled. He had a gray t-shirt on, a very brief appearance just to plead not guilty. His attorney, after court was done, Lee Gold, did walk out, and we chased him. The media followed him, and he did not want to speak. He didn't stop and answer questions. We had a mic stand and sort of a makeshift podium that was available for him, and he just blew right past that and kept on walking, as he told me that he would do earlier. And so we kind of chased him into the parking garage and tried to ask him some questions. And I just said to him, I said, is there a reason why we haven't heard from you, heard from Kent Mawhinney? Because we certainly know Norm Pattis is taking a very public defense even after the death of Fotis Dulos to try and clear his name. And we now know that is sort of the path that Michelle Draconis wants to take with her attorney, being more out there and more able to publicly defend herself from accusations, even though this gag order does still remain in place. And it seems to be a totally different strategy from Kent Mawhinney's attorneys. They did a brief interview several weeks ago with Fox 61 News. Lee Gold did, but ever since then, we haven't really heard from him. And we haven't heard at all from Kent Mawhinney since he was arrested at gunpoint in Tolland trying to evade police. So different legal strategies going on here for the different suspects who are involved in Jennifer's disappearance and the murder investigation. We'll have to see how this all plays out. It's like an onion, you peel back the layers of this case. There's just so many things to be watching. Yesterday, and if you didn't see it, you might want to check it out. We were in court in Hartford Community Court, where we were interviewing Brad Regaglia. Brad Regaglia being the person who showed up at Fotis Dulos' door on Christmas Eve, stranger to Fotis Dulos, and showed up and said, here, I have some holy water to give you. I have a bottle of magnesium pills. I can sympathize with what you're going through. No one should have to spend Christmas alone without their children. I've been there. I've done that. And according to Brad Regaglia, Fotis Dulos started to cry and gave him a hug and took to this showing of support by exchanging cell phone numbers. And then they embarked on this very strange texting relationship back and forth. We were speaking to Brad Regaglia in a very extensive interview outside of Hartford Community Court yesterday, where he basically said, I got the holy water from a priest because I'm Catholic and I went to Mass, and the priest said, here, gift this to somebody who you think needs it. At the time, he said he didn't know it was going to be going to Fotis Dulos. He had a couple spiritual books that he gave him. He said the magnesium pills were meant to lift Fotis's mood. And he defended the tactics that he used to try and get this information out of Fotis Dulos, because it's clear in the text back and forth between the two of them that Brad Regaglia was allegedly trying to deceive Fotis Dulos, into making Fotis think that he has a friend, when, according to the police, Brad was just trying to get a story and write a book, and according to Norm Pattis, get rich and profit off of this book, to which Brad Regaglia said Norm Pattis was a joke, he should have vetted him, and that all the proceeds from this book that he's writing will be donated to domestic violence. So again, it's an onion. There's a lot of layers to this case, so we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. So if you guys have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them on the Facebook live feed. Hello from Hong Kong. We got somebody on here from Hong Kong. Hi from Florida. Thanks for tuning in on our Facebook feed, everybody. So if you tune in on the news tonight at 4 and 5 o'clock, we'll bring you inside the courtroom where you'll get to see Kent Mawhinney for the first time since he was arraigned on his conspiracy to commit murder charge in early January. And we'll show you the very brief interview that we did with Lee Gold as he was walking back to his car in the parking garage, didn't want to stop and talk to the media, and we'll sort of explain the backstory here on Kent Mawhinney, how he came to be involved in Fotis Dulos, what the police say his alleged involvement was. We'll take you back to that East Granby Rod and Gun Club where police say that a shallow grave was found. We'll tell you about his cell phone pinging off the towers there. And by the way, I don't think we mentioned this, but Kent Mawhinney had his law license suspended. As you know, you would imagine that may be the case. He's in jail. The judge said you can't properly represent your clients while you're sitting in a jail cell, so we're going to temporarily suspend your law license. Just reading what you guys are writing here on the feed. Sorry if my finger's getting in the way. Nancy, you're welcome for all the updates. We're trying to keep you guys informed. Denise is saying they need to talk about where Jennifer's remains are. Hashtag justice for Jennifer. And that's the thing that, we just don't know is, right now there is no body. It is a murder investigation. The warrant certainly makes a case for a lot of blood loss and her not being living anymore, but it's one of those mysteries in this case, probably the main mystery in the case that we just don't know. Anybody else got any questions regarding Kent Mawhinney? Joanne is saying, you said they found a shallow grave. That's what police are saying they found at the Windsor Rod and Gun Club in East Granby, which was a gun club that was founded by Kent Mawhinney. And it is in the arrest warrant. It talks about this. It talks about the grave being found by a couple of people who were walking on that property. They saw some disturbed earth. They saw what I believe were bags of lime, I want to say, bags of lime or bags of something that were found in the grave. And then they went back several weeks later, and this area of disturbed earth was covered up again. They never found any body or human remains in it, but in the warrant it is described as what police believe is a shallow grave. Unclear if that was meant for Jennifer Dulos, if that was meant for Kent Mawhinney's wife, who he was having marital difficulties with, or if it is even connected at all. Remember, this is all alleged. This is what police say. There are theories, but until you can prove this, and until a jury, if this were to go to trial, convicts, it is just an allegation and just a charge. Christy, why did Mawhinney dig a grave on private property then? his cell phone ping there in May before and added Jennifer disappeared on multiple occasions. I'm not sure I understand your question, Christy. It was property that he was familiar with, I can tell you that, as the founder of that gun club, so he certainly had some familiarity. He did, he wasn't involved in the gun club for quite some time, for many years, but according to the warrant, it talks about how he had just recently, before that grave was found, he was talking to some of his buddies who were still part of the gun club, saying, hey, I really want to try and get back into it. But you are correct that, yes, bags of lime, Claudia. Thank you for double checking me on that. I don't have the warrant in front of me, so I was just going off of memory, but good to know. Denise asking if Ken can understand English. I'm assuming you're referring back there in some jest to Michelle Troconis, who we saw in court several weeks ago with her headset on, her lawyer claiming that she can understand English but not 100%. So she had to have a court interpreter there, which is the first time that we've seen her with an interpreter. We know that she gave several interviews to the police, was relatively cooperative with them. However, according to the police, her interviews she gave many conflicting statements. So this may be a tactic from her new attorney to try and say that she couldn't understand what the police were asking her, and that is why that she gave all these conflicting statements. We just don't know. Last time we checked in with John Schoenhorn, her attorney, he was still waiting on some of the evidence discovery process to be handed over to him so he could formulate a solid defense on her behalf. When we talked with him originally, he was wearing a not guilty tie. It even said it on his tie, and he emphatically has been stating over and over that Michelle Troconis is not guilty, not guilty. That is one thing that he has been consistently saying. So yeah, that's the latest here from Stamford Superior Court, guys. You're going to want to tune in tonight on the news at 4 and 5 o'clock, and we'll show you what happened. Thanks for tuning in on our Facebook Live feed. Have a great day.